Business Unity South Africa, rather. They're frustrated by government's failure to work with the private sector. BUSA CEO Coovadia says President Cyril Ramaphosa is wrong by suggesting that business is shouting from the sidelines and not doing enough. We're now joined by Business Unity's Coovadia to tell us about some of their frustrations. Thank you very much, Mr. Coovadia, for availing yourself this afternoon. How would you characterize the relationship between business and government in South Africa?
Hi, thanks for having me. Look, the relationship between business and government is a good one. We meet when we need to. The President and ministers are available to meet. But we found the statement by the President at the minerals in Durban unfortunate, where he said that business must stop criticizing from armchairs and actually join government and help work with government. Because we have worked with government. If you look during COVID, in helping government manage the pandemic, we had about close on to 600 professionals in health, in communication, in behavioral science, in legal matters and so on, working full-time pro bono to help government manage the pandemic. And during vaccine distributions, we had about 60 people working full-time, and we mobilized the private sector to distribute vaccines. Since then, we've met with the President in January last year. We agreed to work bilaterally on issues like energy and logistics and law and order. We've done a lot of work on it. The President in his SONA last year did not refer to the meeting we had with him, but announced a social compact. And since then, most of last year, government has only been focused on trying to get a social compact together, which hasn't happened yet. We've done a lot of work on energy, on logistics, on law and order, which we are ready to present to government and work with government to implement some critical intervention that we believe will make a positive difference. So while the relationship is good, we were disappointed at the President's statement, and we are disappointed because business has come to the party. We're working with NECOM in the presidency to help implement the President's energy plan. We've done all this work that I've just talked about. We continue to work with government in other areas. And we've consistently indicated that business does have the resources and capacity. We have a patriotic business.
Unfortunately, we have lost our connection. We lost you there for a few seconds, but I believe we do have you back. You also believe that there are parts of government that still ideologically do not trust the private sector. What does that mean?
Well, I think that there are some people in cabinet that, and look, a lot of people in cabinet come from a background of members of the ANC, and the ANC traditionally came from a socialist background, but has embraced a free market, a mixed economy. But there are some in government that still have the ideological bent that says that government needs to control the levers of power, including in the economy, and are therefore reluctant to actually work with the private sector and enable more space for the private sector to actually participate in some of the SOEs, for instance. With Transnet and logistics, we've offered to take on a lot of the responsibilities that Transnet is currently trying to take on for themselves. We believe that we could work together to actually take on some of those responsibilities, to actually bring private sector capacity and expertise to bear, to actually bring about greater efficiencies. We're not saying that the private sector is the only sector with the capacity and resources. What we are saying is that government must optimize and optimally use resources and capacity wherever they may be in the country, because the President has himself said that government does have capacity issues. And so use the capacity and resources that are available, be it in the private sector, be it in the labor movement, be it in NGOs. But use that, and let's together actually move this country forward.
You spoke of the social compact a little bit earlier on, which we are yet to hear about. In your engagements with government, with the president, what seems to be the delay?
Well, I don't think we have a common understanding what a social compact is. I think there are some in government who believe that the private sector needs to make some real hard targeted commitments in a social compact. Well, we can't do that. We've got to negotiate commitments from the private sector on a whole range of stuff based on where the economy is, where certain sectors of the economy are, and what we can actually bring to the party. But those have to happen through bilateral negotiations between different businesses, different sectors, and different government departments. We believe that a social compact should be something that says that the different stakeholders in our society need to work together to try and get onto the same page on what we want to build in this country, what sort of economy we want to build, how that economy is going to contribute to addressing some of the socio-economic problems we have, and what sort of environment needs to be in place to attract investment and create growth. And that's, in our view, should be what a social compact should be all about. Then I think that on the back of that, between business and government, for instance, we can look at how we implement certain things. And such implementation can then add concretely to such social compact. And on the back of the social compact, we actually start implementing. So we need to reach agreement on what we mean by a social compact. Business is absolutely clear. We cannot put into a social compact commitments that government expects from us that we have not actually agreed in either through negotiation on legislation and regulation or negotiations on policy. And those need to continue, and that's where agreement needs to be reached between business and government, and that cannot be forced in a social compact, nor do we believe anything that government might feel that they want labor to do be forced through a social compact. Social compact should be a broad understanding and trying to get onto the same page. We haven't gotten onto the same page as to a common understanding of a social compact.
Mr. Coovadia, what are some of those hard targeted commitments that government is expecting business to make?
Well, for instance, to say that we will, in the next 5 years, generally have 20% import substitution through localization in the economy. Now, we've taken the consistent view that you can't have a blanket target like that. There are specific products that are manufactured in this country that could be amenable to increasing localization by 20%. There are others that could be amenable to increasing localization by 40%. There are others that we would not increase localization in the next 5 years for a whole range of factors, because we don't have the skills, we may not have the manufacturing capacity, we may not have the regulatory environment in place, we may not have the markets for such products. So we need to look at all of those on a product-by-product basis and see how on a product-by-product basis, for instance, we can actually jack up local manufacturing of those products. Now, we've got a project manager working full-time on that to work with businesses to identify products that in the next 5 years we can actually jack up local manufacturing on. And that's the only way it happens, not through some blanket target in the social compact. And that's just one example of it, but there are others as well.
Sure. You mentioned the bilateral meetings about energy with the president. You mentioned contributions to NICOM on the energy plan. As we speak, we had an announcement during the State of the Nation address about an electricity minister. We are yet to hear who that person will be. We also know that Eskom does not have a permanent CEO. Caleb Kasim is Kasim is acting in that capacity, and we're yet to find a permanent CEO. And when you take a look at all these shenanigans with the accusations and counter-accusations, threats to take this one to court, etc., what then does business think, especially when you think of working together with government? One would be forgiven to think that, well, government can't even work with government.
Yeah, so I mean, we have consistently said that one of the things government needs to do is to have a single message coming from government. We can't have one minister saying something about a particular issue and another minister saying something different. That just does not instill confidence in the country, does not instill confidence in investors. So that is a concern. We've also publicly said that the government must urgently respond to the allegations made by Andre de Ruyter. They are allegations, but they appear to be serious allegations. And the government has to respond urgently and seriously to that, which they haven't yet done, besides accusing Andre de Ruyter of a whole range of stuff. These are serious allegations that cast aspersions on senior people in government. And government needs to actually respond to it urgently and expeditiously. But we've also said in our statement related to that the critical issue for this country at the moment is to sort out the energy problem, not load shedding only, the energy problem. We believe that the plan announced by the President is a good plan, but it needs to be implemented urgently. And even if we manage to get the implementation going urgently, we'll only see the results of that in the next 2.5 years' time, as private sector generated power gets onto the grid, as the commitments and investment that has been made in embedded energy since the President lifted the ceiling, that energy gets onto the grid. But there are some immediate interventions that could be made to, at the very least, consolidate load shedding at lower levels or lower levels of load shedding instead of stage 6 or stage 7 to get to stage 4 or stage 5 and consolidate it there. So we believe that through all this noise, we are still committed to working with government to implement that plan urgently, to do what we can to help government implement that plan urgently, so that in 2.5 years' time we have a more diversified energy sector with significant involvement of business, because the President's plan itself says that business needs to be a significant producer of energy, generator of energy, and through all of that we actually have a repurposed ESCOM, and we actually get rid of load shedding. So I think we should work through all this noise to continue doing that, and we are committed to doing that. And that's the message we're sending out to government.
Thank you very much to the CEO of Business Unity South Africa, Mr. Coovadia.